Hello everyone, I'm Mukesh. I'm the president of YUVA Indians Association at APFL and UNIL. I'm very glad that everyone joined today and people who are going to watch it in future. Hello. Um, so Indian Sanskriti and Indian culture is a web series proposed by Sagar and Shreyas. Shreyas who couldn't come. These are the members of YUVA Indians, and along with Association Group Tchai, we came up with this, and then we wanted to move it forward as an online event. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it for obvious reasons. Reason, um, so we had a very successful season one, episode one event, and we are moving forward with episode two. In the last episode, we had a North Indian classical music. In this episode, we are South Indian. So before that, I would like to welcome you all on behalf of YUVA Indians and Association Rudu Chai. I would ask Dian to continue forward and hope you have a nice event.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm just going to say a few words about La Route du Tchai, so the other association. So it's part of the Slavic and South Asian Studies Department of the University of Lausanne. And we have several cultural and artistic projects happening on and off campus, such as a movie festival, a magazine, and also several different meetings. And so, as Mukesh said, this year we're collaborating with YUVA for this Indian Sanskriti series. And so one of our main projects is a contest for high school students called Le Prix de l'Orient Express. And it awards each year 2 prizes to 2 students who wrote their final high school essay or project on a topic related to Slavic or South Asian studies. And so we have the prize ceremony today. So now I'll pass it over to Philippe, Elena, and Anna, if it's okay.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dan. Hello, everybody. So I'm the co-president of the association Route du Tchai with Anna Izanina. I don't know if Anna is here. Is she?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, okay. Oh, you are Anna Schwed.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Hello, and congratulations. So as Diane said, we just take this opportunity to do the ceremony for the prize. And then, of course, the music is waiting for us. So we're not going too long. But I just wanted to say a few words about your work and a few words about the prize. So just to underline that this year, in principle, we always award 2 prizes, one in relation to India and the other one in relation to Russia. And in 2020, it happens that we only got 2 works in relation to India, but they were not thematically not really dealing with cultural aspects. And for that reason, we're only awarding a prize for Russia. The prize is an amount of 501 francs. And very often we get asked, why is it 501 and not 500? And so this is kind of Indian tradition that there is this additional 1 franc, additional 1 uneven number that can mean several things. It's not exactly sure what it does mean, but what we take it to mean is like either it's a little bit of more generosity, so we're giving a little bit more than just 500, or it's also a token of debt. So just to make a feeling of debt to the person who receives the amount, so that we are sure that we are going to meet again in the future. And so we will very much hope that there will be an occasion to meet again. Maybe you are going to want to study here in the Department of Slavic Languages, or even Indian, South Asian stuff. Why not? That would be a very exciting perspective, or not. And maybe you want also, we will have another occasion to meet. But in any case, we wanted to congratulate you a lot. I will also let Elena, I think she's here to get more specific about the work. But before this, maybe just underline that you will get a paper certificate for the prize, but unfortunately the chat function of Zoom does not allow us yet to send objects, physical objects through Zoom. So this will by normal mail. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for your words.
Oh, that's no problem. And I wanted also to thank very much the jury who read the works. And this jury is Elena Simonato. She is here, I think. And so she is maître d'enseignement et de recherche. I have no idea what's the English translation for that. It's maybe senior lecturer or something. Or, but maître d'enseignement et de recherche at the Department of Slavic Languages at the university. And Anna Izanina, so the co-president of the association. And she is maître assistant. Yeah, no idea how you translate that either, at the same department at the UNIL. So thank you very much to both for reading those texts and really getting also like what were the strengths and the weakness of those works. So maybe I let now Elena say a few words about the specific work if you're here. Yes.
May I read in French?
Of course, absolutely.
My text in French. Alors, le prix récompense le travail de Mademoiselle Anna Schwetz intitulé Les spécificités de la représentation de l'amour et de la haine dans le roman d'Alexei Nikolaevitch Tolstoï, Aelita. Un roman de science-fiction avant l'heure, en fait, mon commentaire. Alors, les deux experts ont relevé les qualités suivantes du travail. Le travail, premièrement, traite d'un ouvrage faisant partie du programme de maturité en russe et abordé durant les cours d'histoire de la littérature russe à la section SLAS à l'université. Deuxièmement, l'élève développe un point de vue attractif sur une œuvre littéraire considérée classique pour les parcours en histoire de la littérature et elle relie analyse littéraire et analyse historique. Et troisièmement, l'élève aboutit dans la discussion finale à une ouverture sur l'époque moderne, ce qu'une des expertes a considéré comme le plus-value de l'analyse. Et c'est la première fois que ce prix récompense en fait un travail d'analyse littéraire. Merci, Anna.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à vous.
We also have a short video by Anna Izanina, so I'm just going to play it now. So you also have her congratulations. So, alors. Wait. Ok. Voilà.
Chers amis, malheureusement je ne peux pas être présente à votre événement parce que je serai dans l'avion. Alors j'ai décidé d'enregistrer une petite vidéo depuis l'aéroport de Saint-Pétersbourg, Pulkovo, pour féliciter Madame Anna Schwetz pour son travail de super bonne qualité, les spécificités de la représentation de l'amour et de la haine dans le roman d'Alexis Tolstoï, Aelita. Ça fait déjà plusieurs années qu'on décerne ce prix et ce qui me fait énormément de joie, de plaisir, c'est que le nombre de participants n'arrête pas à augmenter. Alors je félicite tout le succès possible à Anna et je la remercie pour l'intérêt qu'elle porte pour la culture et la littérature russe. Elle a prouvé la qualité exceptionnelle par son travail de maturité. Félicitations Anna.
Merci beaucoup encore une fois.
C'était une petite vidéo qui change comme ça.
Congratulations, Anna.
Thank you so much. Donc, je ne sais pas si je dois aussi dire quelque chose. I don't know if I have to say something about how I feel about all of this or I shouldn't. And in which language should I speak? And après, est-ce que je dois parler anglais ou français ou même russe? Je peux parler les trois en même temps, mais dans tout cas, je vous remercie pour avoir lu mon travail. Ouais, c'était cool pour moi, cette expérience de participation dans ce concours-là. C'était la première fois pour moi et donc, ouais, c'était cool. And in English, I'm super, super thankful for all the words that I heard from you so far. And I'm also really, really thankful that there is this opportunity for me to participate in such an event. It was a very nice experience that I'm hoping to repeat once again. So, yeah.
I think, yeah, that's okay. Thank you. So thanks to you for participation. And yeah.
Thank you. It was very nice.
So now I guess I'll introduce our guest, Abhay Nayampally, if that's okay. Okay, so just a few words about him. So he's born in Kerala in South India and brought up in Mumbai. And he grew up in a musical family, playing instruments such as the tabla and the piano. And then after exploring various Western forms such as jazz and blues on the guitar, he felt the urge to explore a rarely visited genre on the guitar, namely South Indian Carnatic classical music. And then, under the guidance of the renowned Mandolin Maestro, Vidwan Srinivas, he developed and cemented his innovative and very expressive style of playing the electric guitar. And among various awards and titles, he received the title Sangeeta Kalaratnam, so the jewel of the art of music, from the Swarajhankar Sangeet Nritya Academy in 2011. And currently he is the only Carnatic guitarist in the world performing, recording, and teaching the Srinivas Bani style on the electric guitar. So thanks for being with us today, and we are all really looking forward to listening to you and discussing with you.
Thank you.
So now I'll pass it over to Sagar and Abhay Nayampally.
Hello everyone, bonjour, namaste, and welcome to the second session of Indian Sanskriti, Indian culture. Diane, thanks for the introduction. So as Diane just said, we have Mr. Abhay Nayampally from Mumbai, who's a Carnatic musician, but what's the interesting thing is that he plays a very traditional form of music, traditional form of Indian music on a very Western instrument. So I think that is very unique and we are very excited to have him here. So Abhay, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming. And yeah, and I think we can then start with the event itself. So I said that you play a kind of traditional Indian music. Last time we had something which was called Hindustani classical music, which is played mostly in the north and maybe the central part of India. Now, India is unique in that fact that we have two different classical forms which are equally very well developed. So can you tell us a little bit about Carnatic classical music?
So first of all, thank you all of you. Thank you to EPFL and thank you Diane for that beautiful introduction. Thank you Sagar, thank you Mukesh for all the assistance before the event. And thank you all of you for coming here, taking your time out and joining us today. And congratulations to Anna for her prize. So about coming to Carnatic music, it's usually we call it Carnatic and Hindustani music, but if you want to simplify it, it's actually the classical music of North India, which is Hindustani, and the classical music of South India, which is Carnatic music. So the word Carnatic actually means pleasing to the ear. The word actually means pleasing to the ear. It's not as often is mistaken or misunderstood that it is from the state of Karnataka. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah. It's like Karna, which just means ear, and then Atik
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
means like pleasing. Yeah.
yeah. It is. Well spotted. And so the thing about Carnatic music is it's been around for a very long time now. People are not very sure when exactly the current form of Carnatic music took over, but it's been there. The principles of a lot of ragas have been around. Mentioned in the Vedas are holy scriptures from around 4,000 years ago. In the Samaveda and the Rig Veda, there are
Wow. Yeah.
mentions of certain ragas and mentions of certain practices of music, etc. And then it's been handed down from there. But around the time of the Persian and the Mughal invasions in India, there was a significant cultural influence that started, creating the differentiation between North Indian classical music, which, as we know today, is of a very different style and equally beautiful. And then the South Indian classical music started being quite prevalent in the four southern states of southern states of India. And the kind of approach and the kind of sound signature that Carnatic music has today could be attributed to around 400, 450 years ago, when it started getting a little systematized. And the kind of improvisational techniques, the kind of compositional techniques, the systematization of ragas, the systematization of notes, the different types of notes that can be used from, say, one tonic to the next upper tonic, is what we know today as Carnatic music. Of course, it's always a work in progress. It's always evolving,
That's right.
and new things keep getting added. I mean, I'm playing it on the guitar, which is something you couldn't imagine 50 years
Yeah.
ago. So
Absolutely.
it's always a form of music that's been very accepting, I think, of newer ideas and newer thought processes, I
Okay.
would say.
Very wonderfully said. Thanks for the really nice description of like almost everything. You covered the history and some of the aspects as well. I saw that you mentioned some words like rag or tal or improvisation and so on. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about these elements of music that form the Carnatic genre? Like for example, the ragam or
Yeah.
the talam and
So
yeah.
to yeah. So the thing is, I mean, this is just the absolute tip of the iceberg, because getting into it will take another maybe 4 or 5 years of lectures. So, but
Yeah, absolutely.
the basic improvisational techniques in Carnatic music are, as we know, we have scales which we call ragas, and those, each raga actually goes a little more than just a scale on a paper, because especially in Carnatic music, every raga has a very specific sound signature, a very specific sound, a very specific personality, a very specific way that it is improvised. Of course, it's always open to improvisation as much as you want, but there's a certain way of doing it. So we have the raga, which is the scale. Now we have 72 ragas which are called the
Hmm.
Melakartha Ragas, which form the parent scales of Carnatic music, from which every single uh, other raga or every single other composition has come out of. So
Okay. Okay.
every scale that exists today that we know of has been covered in these 72 scales. So even if it's the major scales of the Western form, or the minor scales, or the harmonic minor, people who are
Mhm.
familiar with the Western theory of music will know what I'm talking about. The harmonic minor scale, and the pentatonic scales, the major pentatonics, the minor pentatonic, you name it, and it's been covered in
Okay.
Carnatic music.
So
Yeah.
I'll try to explain this to the audience who is uninitiated in this. So you have in one octave, you have 12 notes. It starts with say
Yeah.
san sa sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. So the sa and sa, these two sound the same, but they are in different octaves. So one we call as a lower octave, one we call as a higher octave. And the different kinds of notes that you generally sing, there's 12 of them in this one octave.
Yeah.
Now when you are talking about a rag, it's like we had discussed last time, that it's a particular set of notes that you can sing or play, and there's a set of notes which you cannot sing or play in that particular. So out of these 12, you select either 7 or 6 or 5, or a combination of 7 different ones while going up and 7 different ones while going down, and so on. That forms like the basic structure of the rag. And then after that, you have these rules which dictate how you go from one note to the other. It's not like you just have these sets of notes and you can just do any permutation combination. There's some combinations which are allowed, some combinations which are not allowed. So when you put all of these constraints on this system of notes, you start to get a kind of musical personality, which is called as a rag. So you also talked about 72 Melakarthas. Yeah, the sound signature, exactly. With the 72 Melakarthas, it's very fascinating that this number 72, it's actually very mathematical, that you have sa, which is the first note, and you have pa, which is the fifth note. And then you have, for the other notes, for the re, ga, ma, dha, ni, you have 2 combinations each, or 2 possibilities each. So mathematically, if you take sa and then one combination of re, sorry?
We have 3 possibilities each. For re, ga, dha, and ni in Carnatic, there are 3 of each.
Okay, wow. I see.
So then that's how it becomes, then the number of possibilities, it becomes, 6, and then those go into 6 of each. So that becomes 36. And then when you combine it with the 2 possibilities of the ma, which is the fourth, you have the natural fourth and the sharpened fourth. When you combine these two, so 36 plus 36 becomes 72. That's how we get the 72.
Okay. I knew that this was very mathematical, but wasn't exactly sure. But yeah, it's super interesting. Okay, awesome. So
what they did was they just put together all the notes that could be recognized by the it's an individual frequency, and they just calculated how many individual frequencies could be clearly understood by the human ear, and then they made combinations of those, and then they made separate ragas each.
Okay,
and that's how they got the 72.
Very systematic.
Came out of these 72.
Yeah. Okay. Very systematic.
Yeah, it's quite a brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I think after this discussion, we can maybe play the first song and then move back to the interview. So Mukesh, if you can.
Sure.
Wow.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful rendition of Rag Kirwani. Okay, wonderful.
It was so Carnatic to my ears.
So pleasing to your ears. That's what Mukesh was trying to say. Okay, nice. Nice one.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you so much.
No, beautiful. Seriously, that was really nice. So we already had a
It's one of
question.
my all-time
just
favorite
now.
ragas.
Yeah, Kirwani, and it sounds especially nice on instruments, I think, more than vocals. And you played it wonderfully. So,
Thanks.
so we already have a question now, and this was actually the same thing that I was also thinking about. Aishwarya has asked that Rag Kirwani, is it the same one as you have in the Hindustani? So can you explain a little bit?
So, yeah. I mean, it's more or less the same. There might be slight differences in approach and differences in certain phrasings and certain gamakas. Now, gamakas are the embellishments, the decorations that we use around a particular note for those of you whom might not know. But otherwise, it's mostly the same raga because Kirwani is originally a Carnatic raga, which is it's part of the 72 Melakartha Ragas, and then it's
Okay.
been adapted into Hindustani. I don't know
Right.
when that happened, but it's now quite common in Hindustani as well.
Okay, that's what I thought. I came up with a really simple schematic. I don't know how much it will be. Okay, it's getting invisible now. Just a second. Let me remove my virtual background and then it'll be easier. Okay, close that. Then I hope it is visible to people. So my main idea was to show that there's 12 notes in one octave. It starts from here, which is the sa, ends here, which is the upper knee, and then after this you get again sa. And the particular ragam that Abhay played right now has these set of notes, which I have put it in the rectangles. So you have the first sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, and so on. And so you have to stay within these notes. You can play only these set of notes, and there's rules on how you can go from one to the other and so on. And the embellishments is like very quick succession of some of these notes so that it sounds more pleasing in a way, some kind of decorations maybe you can say to the music. So
The technical term for these embellishments in Carnatic music is called gamaka. Gamaka, which, gamakas or gamakams, they literally translate to ornamentations. So you have a note where if you're saying sa, no, I can't sing very well, but sa re ga ma pa ma ga re sa. So now if you want to do, if you want to oscillate between say re and ma, so sa re ga ma pa re ma, so you do like that. Instead of doing re ma,
Okay.
instead of doing two plain notes, you join them and you oscillate between that those two
Okay.
frequencies.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you just kind of make it seamless. Instead of having all the notes separate as separate frequencies, you kind of join them.
Okay. Okay. I see. And I think I'm
That's
also
yeah, that's the specialty
of Carnatic music because it sounds so distinctly Carnatic, not like Hindustani, which sounds more, you can say, which doesn't like the notes don't move that much in Hindustani, at least in the Alap
yeah
section. It's more of a
yeah
slow elaboration, whereas in
yeah
Carnatic you seem to have lots of gamagams right from the start.
yeah.
Very interesting. So, other than this, are there any other similarities or differences that you can think with Hindustani and Carnatic music?
Uh, the similarities, I don't see too many in terms of improvisation, because even rhythmically the similarity, I mean the differences are quite a lot. How we look at a particular phrase, and how we the concert format is also very different in Hindustani as opposed to Carnatic music. So
Even the
usually
accompanying
Hindustani,
instruments are also different
yeah,
there.
yeah, even the accompanying instruments are completely different. The accompanying style is also completely different. So for example, in Carnatic music, for those who would have seen, the audience members or even the artists sit and hold their hands and they clap
Yeah,
along. And
right.
yeah, so they keep the rhythm on their hands, they keep the talam on their hands. It doesn't happen often in Hindustani music, because the beat that is shown by the tabla player is a very specific set of syllables. But in Carnatic music, you don't have those specific set of syllables. You only have a time signature. So, for example, if it's
Okay.
in 8/8 time signature, the mridangam player, the ghatam players, all of your Carnatic accompanists are going to be following along with you and complement the composition or any kind of phrasings that you are taking. So you
Okay.
don't have a reference point coming from them in terms of a specific set of syllables. That is why we keep this.
Okay.
That's
I
why you
see.
see, yeah, even the audience members join in. They're very enthusiastic. So you'll see some old South
Yeah.
Indian aunties and uncles very enthusiastically and shaking
Yeah,
their
yeah,
head.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, okay. This is very interesting. I didn't also know about this. So do you also have like the first note, which is the sum, which is more emphasized than the rest
Yeah,
of the tal?
yeah. So when you're doing rhythmic improvisation, the sum is always the focal point. The sum is kind of base camp. You do all of your extrapolation, and you always come back to the sum, wherever that sum might be at that point of in that composition. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
Sagar,
yeah,
Yeah.
Aishwarya has one question, I think.
Yeah, well, we're on the
Yeah.
topic of we're on the topic of rhythm. I just had this one question. So,
Right.
as a more of a beginner singer, I always struggled if there's a metronome and I have to sing a Carnatic song to it. And this is something I thought just because I was still learning. But then there was a tabla artist who told me that, making a Carnatic singer sing to a metronome is kind of cruel. So I was just wondering if what this happens at the professional stage, because at a lot of times if you have to record professionally, you may need to keep to a backing track or a metronome, right? So then how do you deal with that?
Uh, I mean, a time signature is a time signature regardless of a metronome or an accompanist. You have a certain space of say 8 beats or 5 beats or 6 beats or whatever, and you have to do whatever you have to do within that time. Within that framework. So it doesn't really matter if it's a metronome or an accompanying artist, if it's a tabla or a mridangam, or even if it's a drummer or a djembe or anything like. Because now when I'm recording at home, I usually don't have any artists sitting with me, so I have to play to a metronome, as cruel as it may be. But I have to play to a metronome, so I just keep the time frame in my head, that's all. So I keep the one in my head at all times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
So the one keeps going on in my head at all times, and then you do all the rest of your improvisation happens with that one in mind.
Within that space? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And Another question I had is, so in Western music, they also have some rhythmic forms like this swing, right, where the beats are not equally spaced. So I remember at some point I was singing Telisi Rama, and this Western musician friend of mine said, "Hey, that's swing." Now, is that really exactly how it translates, or what do you think about that?
Um, I don't know if it exactly translates to swing, but then again, it's very subjective because different people hear music in different ways. So maybe to your friend who was listening to Telisi Rama, maybe he could hear a kind of a
Like,
swing framework that was happening in the background. So he'll
yeah,
know
yeah.
what. Yeah. So yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, it's very subjective. It could be. It's not exactly. I mean, I'm pretty sure when Tyagaraja composed it, he didn't compose it to swing, but it can definitely be translated to swing. I'm sure it can be used in a swing context as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can do that. Like you can even actually do the the jazz offbeat thing. You can do that. I mean, usually in Indian classical music, you would keep beat on the 1 3 5 7, as opposed to the jazz, which keeps it on the 2 4 6 8, like 1 2 3
Ah, okay.
4 5 6 8. That's how you would keep it in jazz. So yeah,
And this is another thing, I'm not sure if I'm entirely right about this, but you guys can confirm.
I hope
So I thought another difference was also that in Carnatic, we start the Avartanam, we start the Talam at the first beat, but in Hindustani, they start at the last beat or something like that. There
yeah.
is a difference as well, right?
Uh, it changes from composition to composition. Last beat, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's slightly before the first beat. Sometimes it's on, like if it's Teental, then they started it around the ninth beat, which is where the Kali starts from, the second half of the Teental. So I'm sure Sagar will be able to answer that better because
Yeah.
you're the one who's trained in
Since we were on
Hindustani.
the topic of differences and similarities, I thought I would ask.
Right.
So
Um,
in Carnatic, there is no system of sum there in Hindustani actually. The two halves.
okay, okay, very interesting. You were also talking about the like Western forms like jazz and blues and so on. Since you play the Western instrument, so maybe you can talk a little bit about the instrument, whether you play Western forms of music as well, and then we can go on the next song.
Sure, sure. So when I first started off playing, I started off with obviously I started off with the Western form of the guitar. I first learned chords and then went on to learn Western forms of soloing. So whether it was rock or then slowly moving on to blues and jazz forms of jazz. Of course, jazz is a very vast study. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but I used to play it before I switched over completely to Carnatic. So yeah, having that Western background does help a lot in terms of thinking in terms of harmonies.
Okay,
That's the beauty of Western music. The harmony, they really peaked the concept of harmony in Western music.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. Wonderful. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe Mukesh, we can go on the next song. beautiful performance again, Abhay.
Thank
That was
you.
really, really beautiful. So I'm starting to think that I should talk less so that people can hear more of the playing and less of me talking. So let me try to keep the questions a bit shorter now. Um, so the next question was kind of related to your personal experience generally in playing the guitar and in a Carnatic form, and also about when you are like when you become a professional musician, you have to be uh, one with the instrument in a way. Uh, like you have to be so used to it; it's as if it's a part of your own body. So to reach up to this stage and to be as proficient in the kind of music you play, so I think you have one section which is about the physical part. Like you have to, your fingers and your hands should be able to play that fast and that accurately. That's one section. One is the theory that you have to play the ragam and the talam properly. And then there's also a creativity that using all of this, how can you make it as beautiful as possible? So can you briefly explain about these stages in your musical life till now?
So when I first started off trying to play Carnatic music, I mean, I still feel like I'm still trying to play Carnatic. It's been more than 14 years, but it's the kind of music that just, the music itself keeps you grounded, because the moment you start playing this, you realize it's too vast to ever completely master it. So I'm still learning, as any classical student would, attest to that fact. uh, but the physical aspect of it, the physical execution of it, the muscle memory part of it was what took up the first few years of playing, because to achieve a certain amount of precision in the sliding from
Mm,
one note to the other, and then the differences in mapping on the fretboard from one rag to the other, that took a lot of work, because we end up using a lot of our muscles. I mean, there are sometimes very tiny flicks from the fingers, then the flicks of the palms, the flicks of the wrist, then the movement of the elbow and the
shoulder
shoulder
as well.
finally. And all of these put together kind of, end up making what you hear as a gamaka on the guitar. So to develop this muscle memory itself took a bit of time, and it's always a work in progress. There are days when I feel like the guitar is an extension of my arm, and there are days when I feel like the guitar is trying to escape being an extension of my arm. So it's yeah, it's always a work in progress. You never feel like you master it. On a good day, if you feel like a good student, then I take that as a win-win. But
Okay, okay, very interesting.
then
So
the
now,
mental creativity part, that actually kicks in when when you are at a stage where you're comfortable with your muscle memory, and where you don't have to look at the fretboard, or when you're not trying to figure out where the notes are of a particular raga. That's when the mental creativity part starts kicking in, and you can actually start playing things from your brain rather than your fingers dictating what you can play. That transition was something that I considered very important, because otherwise sometimes you kind of get used to playing things that only your fingers are used to playing. So to make your fingers play stuff that your brain asks it to play is the transition that I consider the most important for any instrumental artist.
wonderful. So again, I have to quote Pula Deshpande on this. That he said that like a normal player just plays the instrument, whereas a master sings with his instrument. Like he becomes so one with the instrument itself that he's singing in his mind, and that's what you get to hear from the instrument itself. Uh, One person who had this caliber was your guru, you Srinivas. So could you tell us a little bit about how you met him, how long did you train with him, and the whole experience of being in his presence?
Uh, so to me, the time that I got to spend with him was very short, because I went to him for a few years, about maybe 6 to 7 years. Um, I met him at a concert in Pune where he had come to perform, and very hesitantly I went up to him and I told him that I play. And by that time, I'd already started dabbling in a little bit of Carnatic. I'd started picking up the basics of Carnatic on my own. I was trying to learn it for about a year or two at the time when I met him for the first time. And I told him that, this is what I do, and I'm trying to learn Carnatic on the guitar, but in your style. So he was very, very kind enough to immediately take me as a student on the spot,
Wow.
disciple, and then immediately the week after, we scheduled a class with him in. I got to schedule a class with him in Chennai, which is about 20 hours drive from where I stay in Pune. So I used to take my car and go to Chennai to learn from him,
You
because
used to go from, wait, you said you went from Pune.
yeah. I used to love driving. I still love driving. So I used to drive down to Chennai
Okay,
from.
that's some strong dedication and commitment. Wow. Okay.
Thanks. I mean, it was fun. It was fun doing that. There was a lot of excitement that used to be there. Especially on the going journeys, because it used to involve the thought that, oh, I'm going to meet him in a few hours. So that was there, and then getting to actually sit with him in a room one on one and learn from him, just sitting and listening to him, was most of the education. And he was such a humble soul. He passed away too early. He was only
Yeah.
45 when he passed away,
Yeah.
in 2014. And I even had a session with him a few months before he passed away, actually.
Okay.
And he was a very jovial person. He was very humorous. So, and he would never ever get angry, and no number of mistakes could get him to lose his patience. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Kind of like an ideal guru, possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you could have the Oxford Dictionary definition of the ideal guru, his picture should be in it.
Okay. Wow.
He
Wow. So I think the next song
I
that
feel
we
really blessed to be here.
absolutely, yeah, it's true. You have been blessed to get training directly from him one on one. So I think the next song is it one of his compositions or
It was in his album Samjanita, which
okay?
was more of a world music album. So this raga, the Desh raga, has
Hmm.
been kind of adapted into Hindustani, into Carnatic from Hindustani, and
Okay.
it's sort of an amalgamation of a folk song and a little bit of his own composition. So I have rendered it in my own way. I've kind of reinterpreted and reproduced the composition, but it's essentially the melodically, apart from my own improvisations, the melodic sign line is all his.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. So Mukesh, can we have the third song?
Awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful, Abhay. It was very soulful and mellow. I think those would be the words that I would describe it. If I ever start meditating, I think I could probably start with that song in the background. It's very soothing, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
It actually brings me also to my next question, that the first two songs sounded more of the classical type, like more pure classical, you can say.
Yeah,
Whereas this one sounded a little bit more light
yeah.
than the other ones, at least in the classical aspect. It was hard if you think of it and how difficult it is to play. But in that sense, do you have any other semi-classical type of genres in the Carnatic classical sphere?
Uh, yeah, you do. I mean, so the first two videos that were played, in the first one, it's a very serious and very elaborate form of pure Carnatic classical music, which is called Ragam Tanam Pallavi. The Pallavi part I kind of omitted because I was playing alone, but the Ragam Tanam I played, which is where you take a raga and you elaborate it without a rhythmic aspect. It's very free flowing. Then the
Okay.
Tanam aspect, where the second half of that first video, where I start going a little faster with a little bit of a more rhythmic aspect attached to it. That is called a Tanam. Now, when vocalists sing, they sing using the syllables ta nam. So that is why it's called
Okay.
Tanam. That is
Okay.
literally why it's called Tanam. And there's a specific way of rendering it, which you heard in the video. And then the second video that played, I played a Kriti composed by Patnam Subramaniam Iyer in the raga Katanu Kutuhalam. It's a bit of a complicated name. And the raga, it's also quite complicated because it's a very Vakra raga. It's a very twisted raga. But it's
Okay.
a very interesting and it's a very happy composition. But these compositions are called kritis or
Okay.
kirtanams, where these form almost 70 to 80% of Carnatic concert repertoire, and these can also be taken as like serious concert repertoire. Whereas the Desh, which I played in the last video that we just heard, is a slightly lighter form of music where it's got some folk overtones and even though you're still improvising it in a very classical context, it's still got that like slightly folksy kind of texture to it. So that's why I thought of adding a little bit of pads in the back on the keys, so it kind of gave a little bit of a different color to it.
Okay. Okay.
And
Wonderful.
within Carnatic, you also have like you play lighter pieces like javalis, tukkadas, and tillanas and all that, which usually come towards the end of the concert.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
So, like we talked about the light part, we talked about the different things in Carnatic. Now, since so the question is that, have you tried playing Hindustani or other forms of music on the guitar, or have you tried to fuse them somehow on the guitar with Carnatic? Um,
Uh,
because yeah, because you have like the things that you can play. I'm sure you can play Hindustani quite well as well, and you also play jazz and blues, I think. So it would be interesting to hear like that.
I wish I could play Hindustani well, but I'm not trained in Hindustani, so I don't know if I qualify for that. But I have played with a lot of Hindustani artists and in a lot of these Hindustani and Carnatic Jugalbandi kind of concerts where both the schools of thought meet.
Hmm.
So there are certain ragas which I've played which are specifically Hindustani ragas like Sham Kalyan or say Bhageshri or something like that, which are very specifically from the North Indian tradition. And of course, I can't play it in the exactly Hindustani way because I'm not trained in it. So I give it my little bit of a Carnatic twist. But it's an interesting question you brought up because there is a form of Carnatic jazz that I'm trying to bring about where you mix elements of jazz and you mix elements of Carnatic without,
Okay,
disturbing the aesthetic of either too
either.
much. So it's still a work in progress. I'm still doing a lot of experiments with it, but there is a video on my YouTube channel which is just called Abhay Nayampally, where I've uploaded a composition. It's a Carnatic jazz composition. It's called Deflections of a Moonlight. So if anyone wants to check
Hmm.
it out, they can
Okay,
check it out
okay.
and let me you think about it.
Yeah, we would be very eager to listen to this as well and the more upcoming songs, whichever you compose. It's actually a really nice point for me to ask the next question is that for newcomers or for people like me who know some of Hindustani but not that much of Carnatic, um, other than the excellent guitarist called Abhay Nayampally, which other artist can we listen to? Or which other songs can we listen to?
Other than the guitarist Abhay, I wouldn't know if I'll add excellent, but thank you. But you're being very kind. Uh, you could, for a person who's just getting into Carnatic, you could probably start off with instrumental music initially, just to kind of get used to the sound, and then
Okay.
go into vocal, where the lyrical aspect also comes in. Of course, it again, it's very subjective. It will depend from person to person and from taste to taste. Whatever makes you comfortable. But if you're listening to instrumental, I would say a very good starting point would be listening to legends like the late Vidwan T.N. Krishnan or the late Vidwan Lalgudi Jairaman sir. So the violin, or you could listen to S. Balachandar on the veena. It's really beautiful veena music. Of course, my guru, Mandolin Srinivas ji, he's got a tremendous repertoire on any of these digital platforms now. So those I think would be good points to start off to kind of just get a grounding into Carnatic music, and then you can move on to vocal music as well, where the lyrical part comes in.
Okay. I think we can make a list
Yeah.
and then put it up on the video when it goes on YouTube, on Facebook and YouTube as well. I think you can put names of the artists that you mentioned here so that people can listen to.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be
Wonderful.
good.
Yeah. So I think we can move on to the last song. It's an interesting song because, like we were discussing just now, it's a ghazal, a very famous ghazal, which is played in like a little bit of Carnatic style, but still while preserving the authenticity of the ghazal itself, which is essentially a kind of a North Indian type of music. So let's hear this. You can say a kind of a fusion of Hindustani and Carnatic. wonderful, Abhay. I was singing along the whole time
We do.
on the song.
Rising.
Thanks so much, man. I'd love to hear you sing it actually.
Let's see. Okay, definitely. I'd love to send you sometime. We'll see.
Sure, sure.
Um, it was also interesting to hear this, like the Carnatic variations or the gamakams in the song. So it gave it a
Yeah.
different feel as well. So that was wonderful to hear. Um, I think we have like up to 5 to 10 minutes now for some questions from the audience, if you have any. So you can either raise your hand using the reactions from Zoom, or you can even type in the chat, and we can ask.
Yeah. So I have one from Aishwarya.
Yeah.
I have two questions. So the first time I heard Carnatic from a guitar, my mind was blown. This was, I think, maybe a version of Vatapi by Prasanna or something like that. And since
Right.
then, I've had this question that, like in the EADGB, the way they tune the guitar for Western music, at some point I tried to locate Sarigama Padanisa and I found they were kind of everywhere. So do you tune it differently to make it possible to slide like the way we need to? Does it change for different ragams? How is it?
Uh, so I use a standard tuning. Prasanna uses a Carnatic tuning that is different tuning. So Prasanna's guitar is tuned to
Ah,
Sapa, and Sa, and
Mhm.
what I use is the standard EADGBE because
Okay.
what I like is to have the advantage of being able to switch the scales without having to change my tuning. So um, whether it is any raga that is to be played or whether it is any key that you have to play in, I don't have to do any modifications to the tuning. Of course, it does take a little bit of work initially when you're just starting off to be able to play Carnatic in the standard tuning, but once you're comfortable with it, it's better. I mean, it gets easier. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting used to it. That's all.
Mhm. Okay. And the other question was, so I looked at the abstract, and so there was, so you Srinivasan wrote a Bani. So when you say that, what are some unique elements that it involves?
There was some. I mean, it's more of his, the content, emotional content that he used to put out. Whenever you think of the music of U Srinivas, the most important thing you think of is how it makes you feel more than, like, I mean, after you're done marveling and being awestruck by his technical and rhythmic and
mm,
creative brilliance, you always come out of the concert or out of the listening to an album experience thinking about how he used to make interpret a raga and make it feel. He had a very specific way of doing that, so I want to try and carry on that thought, that school of thought, that approach. I mean, I don't know how well I can do it, but that's definitely something I'd like to take forward as I go in my own personal musical journey. So I hope I'm able to do that. There are these tiny whether it's the fast rhythmic phrasings or the fast runs between notes from one octave to the other. All of that, we had started kind of identifying it with his style of playing. So if you're looking for a technical aspect to what I mean by bani, by what I mean by style, those kind of things, and the kind of gamakas that we play in raga, I mean, in any particular raga, going into the technicalities of it will take another few days, but like when you listen to the playing of Prasanna and when you listen to the playing of U Srinivas, you can tell that there's a style difference that is there, and that difference is what I'm trying to amplify on the guitar, the style of the mandolin, but played on a guitar.
okay, wonderful. I have a question
I
for
hope
you.
that answered
Is
your
that
sure, Sagar.
do you play any other instruments? Like, do you play the mandolin?
I do play the mandolin as well. I do have a mandolin at home which was played by U Srinivasji himself.
No.
So I'm very lucky to, that's like one of my prized possessions. So I do play the mandolin, and then the first instruments that I started playing off with actually were not the guitar; it was the tabla and the keyboard. So back when I was a
Okay.
school kid, I was very sure that I wanted to, learn Western classical piano. I'm very fond of Western classical music,
Yeah.
so I grew up on that. So if 25 years ago you had told me I was going to end up being a Carnatic guitarist, I would not have believed it. But yeah, so I play a little bit of piano. I've been trained in tabla. I play a little bit of drums as well, a little bit of violin,
Oh wow.
a
Okay.
little bit of very, 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 very little bit of ghatam and kanjira and all that. Like just for myself. I don't play it on stage or something. But I like to play as many instruments as I can. And I'd like to learn more instruments as I go along. I'm very fascinated by instruments.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So yeah, it's like 6, 7 instruments. Very impressive.
Too less.
Yeah.
So many more to go. So many more. Yeah.
Do we have any other? So Mukesh was asking also like, why did you choose the guitar?
Yeah.
I could actually add up to that, like why guitar, then why Carnatic music? Because you started with Western, right? And guitar is also
Yeah.
essentially a Western
Yeah.
instrument. So you could have gone also in the Carnatic,
Yeah.
sorry, the classical guitar or the Western guitar style. So why did you choose this particular instrument and combination?
Uh, so the instrument, I have a theory that the instrument chose me rather than me choosing the instrument, because, like I said, when I grew up, I used to play the tabla and the piano quite extensively. Guitar was never even in the picture up until the age of almost 13, when I first played my guitar. And when I first played a guitar at a friend's place, I was so taken by that instrument, and I was so taken by what it could do, and how raw and primal it felt. Because you literally have an instrument up against your body, and you can feel the vibrations as you're playing, and that experience was overwhelming. And from that point onwards, I knew whatever else I play, this is always going to take main stage. So
It reminded me
that's
of
how
the line, the wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter. So it reminded me of that line when you said that the instrument chose you. It
yeah,
reminded me of
it was exactly that. Yeah.
Well said.
It was exactly that.
So yeah,
Yeah,
you were saying then
I'm also a
why
Potter fan.
Carnatic? Yeah, go ahead, all the way.
So Carnatic happened a little later in my musical journey on the guitar, because I grew up listening to a little bit of Carnatic as well, because my mom used to sing Carnatic. So I was also very fond of Carnatic music as a world in itself, as an ethos, and the kind of approach that Carnatic music had to itself. So somewhere down the line, when I used to play uh, all the other forms of Western music on the guitar, I realized if I go into the world, if I go out into the world and play this, there are millions and millions of people who are doing literally exactly what I'm doing right now, and there's nothing that makes me stand apart. So that was one of the first things that I thought about. And then I realized why this is my favorite instrument, and Carnatic music was one of my favorite forms of forms of genres of music. And I just thought, okay, why not put the two together, my favorite instrument, my favorite music, and yeah,
Rest
and
was
then from
history.
there was no looking back.
Yeah, wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful.
I hope history.
No, everyone here is definitely mesmerized by all of the songs and also your rocking as well, because you speak really well. Aishwarya has another question, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is since you've explored both Carnatic as well as Western, this is the question I thought I'd love to ask you. So usually when I speak to friends who are familiar with Western music and I explain to them how we have the structured Melakartha scheme and how in each ragam, even even the gamakams that we give to certain swarams have to be apt to that ragam. You can't just slide it any way
Yeah.
you want in any ragam. So they tell me, oh, that sounds very
Yeah.
restrictive. But as somebody who listens to so many RTPs in different ragams, I feel like there is so much exploration. So I'm not able to relate to that thought process. So how do you think that is it actually restrictive, or what do you feel about this?
uh See, that's the beauty of Carnatic classical music, I feel. The restriction itself is actually the thing that makes you more creative. So to give you an example, when I'm practicing, when I'm doing my riyaz at home, I often give myself these challenges to be able to think a little more creatively. Is sometimes I'll just choose a set of notes, say sa to pa, and like, okay, for the next 20 minutes I'm not going to move out of these notes. So let's see how many combinations I can come up with just these 5 notes. It's incredible the number of things you can come up with in just 5 notes. Or sometimes I'll just give myself a challenge that, okay, today I'm going to play on only one string. I'm not going to use all 6 strings. I'm just going to play on only one string. So that really pushes the edges of your creativity because you're very restricted then. So you have to do something new at all times. So I feel like whatever is perceived as an alleged restriction in classical music could actually be a form of creative exploration and creative pursuit that is this very, it's very intellectual, it's very emotional as well. um, yeah, that's how I look at it. I mean, another form of music that I really like jazz doesn't have these kind of restrictions, but it does, because when you're soloing in jazz you have to stick to the harmonies that are given. You can't just it's not random, it's very structured actually. So within the structure of the harmonies, whatever they may be, however awkward they may be, you have to do your solo and make it sound aesthetic and make it a sound interesting and keep the audience engaged enough. So it kind of, it's a similar kind of ethos that is happening here as well, where you have these restrictions which actually make the music more beautiful.
Wonderfully
So
answered.
within that, how can you push your, within that, how can
Yeah,
you push your creative boundaries? That's the idea.
yeah. Taking a small thing and then making it as big as you can with your creativity. So I think that is more difficult, and
Yeah,
I think and it gives rise to much more. I think we are almost out of time now, so I will pass on to Ayush, who will say last concluding words. I think.
So thank you, Sagar, for hosting this wonderful session, and thank you, Abhay, for taking out time and joining us and sharing your experience and music with our community. So thank you both of you for this wonderful show today. So this brings us to an end of the second episode presented by YUVA Indian and Who to Tchai on Carnatic classical music. And yes, so YUVA will come up with more events under this Sanskriti banner. And I would say stay tuned for more events until then. And now I would pass on to Mukesh, who would end the session. Over to you, Mukesh.
Yeah. Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I don't have much to say because I'm mesmerized. And yeah, once again, special thanks to Abhay. Thank you very much for accepting our offer, recording the videos, and spending time with us. And of course, Sagar. And Shreyas is not here, but he was also helping a lot for the organization. Dian, thank you, and your association as well for collaborating. Elena, everyone for staying with us. Nicola, I can see Akshay and all other YUVA members I thank you all on behalf of YUVA Indians.
We all thank Mukesh for supporting this event, and like I randomly called him once about the idea, and he was on board immediately, saying that yeah, this sounds perfect. Let's do this. Same with Diane as well. I told the idea to Diane, and she proposed the idea to Tchai, and then it was a joint collaboration between everyone. So yeah, I think this is a very wonderful initiative.
Yeah, and we are also backed with Indian Embassy because they were also happy with it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe I can take a quick selfie.
Selfie, yeah.
Actual selfie, if it's fine with all of you.
So everyone, we need
please.
The videos to be on. Yome, hi. It's been a long time.
Hi, Sagar.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for letting us know about this event.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew you guys would be interested. I saw Mike earlier, but I think he logged out afterwards. Or he must be with you probably.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you can switch on the camera, we can take a quick selfie and then.
Yeah. All right. On a count of 3, everyone cheese. 1, 2, 3, cheese. One more. Just in case. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Have a nice evening. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. And we
Bye.
look forward to see you in the next episode.